Hello, this is Steve from Beaute's Leatherworks, and today's project is this cool looking Hugo Boss suede shoes. Now they're fairly new, but the customer wants to change them around a little bit. Unfortunately, even though the uppers are very nice looking and they're made out of beautiful suede leather, the construction of the soles aren't so much. Basically, we're going to remove everything from the bottom. We're going to add a leather welt, a leather midsole, and JR soles. Now this is a Blake stitch shoe, but we're going to convert them to rapid Blake, and I'll explain to you guys as I go along. All right, and other than that, everything else is beautiful. I think blue, there's something about blue, especially blue suede, that is very attractive looking. Just got these done yesterday, or a couple days ago. Another pair of blues. These are the blue floor shimes that I converted from. They were brown and we dyed them blue. I posted this on Instagram. Also dyed a belt to match the shoes. I didn't make a video for this one, unfortunately. This was a lot more complicated job than the Hugo Boss is going to be. But it's similar ideas, just kind of bringing them back to make them a little bit better structurally so it'll last a long time. All right, but before we start, some of you guys wanted to know about my car. We did a little impromptu live session, the other day with my son. It was just a spur of the moment thing. I know most of the time you guys are watching the dash. I know. It was just, again, it was just spur of the moment. But I made a little short clip for you guys to show you guys the exterior of the car like so many people asked. So I hope you enjoy it. All right, let's get started. Background music brought to you by nature. All right, so this type of construction, right? You've got the sole glues to the uppers, and it gets stitched from inside of the shoe. It's called a Blake stitch shoe. Now, what's a rapid Blake stitch? A rapid Blake stitch is when you have similar style. You put a welt on, a glue-on welt, because this is not a Goodyear construction shoe. A glue-on welt, you put a midsole down, you Blake stitch this, and then you come back and attach a sole to it, and outsole stitch the welt, the midsole, and the sole together. This becomes rapid Blake stitched. So visually, when you're looking at it, it looks just like a Goodyear welt construction. Is it a little bit durable? Yeah, I think it's a little durable, because what you have, the Blake, you know, the stitches are kind of covered up. That's holding the midsole onto the shoe. It's just another way of construction, that's all. I mean, I prefer a Goodyear welted shoe over a glue shoes. Glue welted. But this is a little bit lighter weight. Most of the, like the casual type shoes. I mean, well, there are the dress shoes also that are Blake stitched, but just like with anything, we try to remove the stitches, the old stitches, so they don't get caked on in there. So, and we're gonna protect the uppers. We got a plastic wrap somewhere. All right, let's see what we got. This is basically from Home Depot, right? It's what painters use. It's just a little to protect the, I don't know, where the areas that they're not painting, you know? So we're gonna do the same here. We're just gonna put this on here because I don't wanna, it is a new shoe and they're suede, they're blue, and I don't wanna take a chance on getting them dirty. And it happens, you know, with glue, with thread oil, thread lube, oils from the machine. You don't want that on the suede because it's going to be a pain in the butt to try to remove it. So might as well protect it a little bit while you can, so you'll have less work later. Got little teeth on the side here. That cuts it off. And once this is done like this, obviously we don't need all that. We'll cut a little bit of that off and tuck the rest inside the shoe. I guess we can tuck everything inside the shoe. Just like that, okay. This way the uppers are protected. I don't have any issues with it getting dirty. When I finish, I'll just peel it off, brush it up, and you are done. All right, let's continue. Now there are lots of welts, leather welts on the market. These, some of them are to be stitched on, some of them are to be glued on. These are glued on. That's what we're going to do now. This particular one has stitches on it already, okay? But we want one that doesn't have stitches because we're going to stitch everything together. This one is a storm welt. It's got that little lip on top right there. All right, and I have a pair here somewhere that I was doing yesterday. This one is another storm welt with stitches on it. Okay, storm welt meaning that, see that hump right there? That's why they call that a storm welt. There are rubber welts, which is something like that. I mean, there's tons and tons of stuff out there. But what we want this one here, which is a light colored, because we're going to leave the edges light with no stitches on it, because we want to add our own stitches with the midsole and the sole together. So this is what we're going to use. All right, let's continue. Now what the manufacturer put here is felt. So we're going to remove all that. We're going to put a little bit thin layer cork, just to kind of even out the surface. All right, so since this is a glued on construction, right? You've got your footbed, the uppers come and glue down. So there's not much of a ridge right here to put a thick cork like the Goodyear welted. See, this has a lot of cavity here that needs to be filled up. It's going to require more than, you know, one layer of cork. But this particular one, we're going to just do one of them, that's it. And even that is higher than what the thickness of the leather is. So once we apply it on here, we're just going to sand that down to make the surface even. We'll fill it in a little bit here too. And we'll sand that flush. Then it'll be time to put the welt on. All right, let's continue. Guess I'm not talking too much in this video, huh? I'm just enjoying the crickets, man. It's so peaceful. I mean, I'm enjoying it too, you know, and that's why I'm forgetting to talk. It's so peaceful in the mornings. Until the damn birds get here. Just kidding, I love the birds too. Sometimes I go in the back and, you know, we have like leftover food and stuff like bread and stuff like that. And I let them dry out a little bit. I crumble them up and throw them outside and the birds come and eat them. Oh, Lord. I remember growing up in Lebanon, my third oldest brother, he used to raise pigeons on the rooftop. You know, like you see them in movies in New York and stuff, you know? Well, you know, Lebanon was like Beirut, I should say, was like high rises. It was a city, you know? And you'd have high rises. Well, when I say high rises, it's not like New York. No, don't get me wrong. They're like 4 or 5, maybe 6, 7 story structures. And you know, my brother would have a little pigeon coop on top and he would fly pigeons. So, you know, I like nature and I like animals. So growing up we had pigeons. Well, he had pigeons. They weren't my pigeons. I couldn't fly the pigeons. He wouldn't let me fly the pigeons. It was his pigeons, not mine. But I could help him. But they were still his pigeons. The stuff that goes through my head sometimes, man. Boy, he was serious about his pigeons too. Ooh. All right, now that we got the glue on here, we're gonna let it dry. We're gonna hammer it on later. Let's continue. Okay, so the transition here, where we have to kind of have a seamless beginning and an end, this side of it skived, and this side will skive the opposite direction. We'll put a little glue on there. And when it gets done, it should have a flawless look to it. Should be able to tell where it began, where it started and where it ends. Something like that. There we go. I can't even see it. Something like that. Just like that. Just like that, we've got the welt on. And we're just going to lightly tap it, okay? And we're going to look at it, make sure that everything is kind of, you know, where it should be. visually when you're looking at the shoe, you look at from the top view, the pattern of the welt should follow the pattern of the uppers, which seems to be pretty good. Very good, very, very good. All right, looks good. All right, let's continue. Hello, lovelies. How are you guys doing today? Everybody okay? You guys behave yourself?
Alright, let's continue.
When I was talking about New York, I was talking about Manhattan. You guys understand? I gotta explain everything to you. Oh, somewhat of hammer time. I mean, not really, really hammer. Well, I guess it is. It's looking good, 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 good. So we're gonna Blake stitch this, put our JR soles on, and then outsole stitch it, heel base, top lift, and she'll be done, done, done till the daddy take the T-bird away. Bet you guys don't know what I was just referencing there. Some over here are Googling already. Let me know in the comments what I just did there. Let's continue. So this is our McKay stitcher. It's got top and bottom threads. This is the needle for it. It's pretty big. Now this is the same needle that we use for our hand stitching. Okay? This is called jerk needle. Not a jerk with a needle. That joke's getting old. Now, lately this machine, the needle has been breaking on it. And I don't know why. It's just kind of, I think it needs some adjustments. So I don't know. I'm going to make an attempt again to stitch it and see what comes of it. But I broke 2 needles last time. Each needle's like 10 bucks. Just an Allen wrench here. Well, we'll see how it does. All right, let's give it a try. Live on camera. tension or something is off with it. I mean, it didn't do too bad, but skipped one here. It acted up a little bit here, a little bit there. But overall, I think it didn't do too bad. At least it didn't break a needle like previously. All right, let's continue. That cracks me up sometimes. It's about that time. Funk so blood, it's about that time. Hammer time. Now, some people ask me why I'm hammering the sole to the shoe. It's glued together and hammered together or pressed together so it will hold. Now we get to press the edges together. There is a machine that it's called a Welt roller that kind of squeezes those three pieces together, but the problem is that leaves a mark on the bottom, which I don't like. So this is the way I do it. But people do it different ways. Let's continue. So what we're going to do here, we're going to install some French tips on here. These are called Lulus. Okay, Lulus come in different sizes. This is a 50 as you get, or 60. As you can see, 50. You've got 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. I don't have 90, I don't think. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't have 90. 90 is pretty wide. So as you can see, depending on the size of the shape of the toe, we put that on accordingly. Now some people nail these on, which are kind of not really the idea of it. You're supposed to put some screws in there. You can use brass screws. I use black screws, which I'm currently out of, unfortunately, so I'm going to see if I can find some small brass screws, regular head screws. The black screws are Phillips, which is a lot easier to put it on with a drill, because when you've got 10-15 pairs to do, each pair is 10 screws, so it adds up after a while. So it's a lot easier to do this with a Phillips screwdriver, Phillips head screw, rather than a straight screw. But at this point, I think we're going to use some straight screws on these. All right, let's continue. Now, when we're doing new soles, we cut this open, right? Then stitch it. But when we get new shoes in that we have to cut the toes out like this, sometimes you run into cutting the stitching that's holding on the sole. Now in that case, you're very limited what you could do. We take a little bit of super glue and put a small dab on the stitch, and when that dries, that stitch shouldn't go anywhere. Now I've had one job that's come back to me where the sole stitches on the welt here was coming loose after I installed the tip on there. It was a pair of Allen Edmonds, and the stitches are pretty big on Allen Edmonds. That's the only time that I had an issue with it. Other than that, we've installed many French tips and never had an issue with that particular problem. But it does happen sometimes. I mean, it's not uncommon, you know. You kind of learn as you go along. Okay, make sure it's flush. There's no edge on here. Now, sometimes if you took too much out of the leather and the leather is a little higher, what you can do is you can hammer this down a little bit, okay? Or you can get a thin piece of leather that which you just cut a little piece and put it underneath it like a little shim to raise the tip up. You just play with it until you get something flush with the sole. Okay, let's continue. So this is the bobbin of the machine. Now, the curling of the thread, which tends to be towards the end of the bobbin, okay? I don't want to run out of thread when I'm halfway through. So let's take a look, see if it's going to be enough. So no way that was going to be enough. I didn't set that up. I swear to God I didn't. It looked that way, right? But I did not. So we're just going to do a, we're going to fill in the bobbin. All right, let's continue. Let's turn the machine back on. This is the bobbin winder there. We put the bobbin in there. Like that. This right here is a tension. You turn this clockwise, counterclockwise, it pushes up on this bar, which the thread is in between. So the tension makes this come out a little tighter or easier. Now we can stitch. Let's do it. Let me change the camera angle, maybe you guys can see a little better. Amateur hour. Doesn't feel smooth for some reason. Something's going on. Okay, it's not too bad. Something funky was going on Didn't feel good, all that good, but seems to be okay. All right, let's continue. Boy, I'm glad I haven't had coffee yet. Yeah, it'd be all over the place. I cracks myself up. Oh my God. So after I trim the edges, now trimming the edges here, most people sand them. Sometimes I do too, but not all the time. Most of the time I use a trimmer, because the trimmer to me leaves it a little bit better finish. Like there's a bead on the edge. There's a little lip there. I kind of like that detail. Now obviously you can't have that lip go all the way around the metal toe. So what we'll do is we'll just sand at the metal toe with the sandpaper to make that metal flush against with the sole. And that is the French tip. Lulu French tip. Okay, let's continue. So as you guys can see, it's coming along pretty good. Now, after I sand the toe, I wet it. This is my sponge on a string. Every time I cut a small sponge to use it to wet the edge of the soles when I'm sanding or trimming, it gets lost. And then I start yelling at Noah, Noah, what'd you do with my sponge? Did you take it home with you? Where is it? I can't find it. So this way, this sucker is not going to get lost. That's it. This way I don't get an argument with Noah. All right, let's wet it again before I forget what the hell I was doing. This is 400 grit paper. It's worn out. Now, remember that bead in the corner there? I'm not sanding that. I've got that a little bit higher on the edge, so it doesn't affect that bead. This gives it the kind of final light sanding. What the water does, it wets the fibers, and then when you crush it down, it leaves a much smoother finish. I do that with all my leather soles. Now once you put a cream on here or conditioning, anything you want to do, however you want to finish it, gives it a nice smooth finish. Okay, let's continue. Now we get to work on the heel bases and the top lifts. Now, we can put one of these on right here, excuse me, which is the jar combination heels. Instead of that, what I did was I took a Svig Rhodey heel, okay? Svig is just the company's name, and the Rhodey is the pattern. I cut the heel up, okay? I cut some JR leather. Basically going to make my own combination heels. And why do we do that? Well, I like the blue to match the shoe. Something like that. Now once it gets done, we sand it, clean it up, it'll look really nice. All right, let's continue. Morning, Reza. How are you? One more blue. One more time. How are you?
Good.
All right, for all of you who have bags with me, please be a little patient. I'm a little backlogged with my repairs, and I'm doing the best I can to catch up with it. I will eventually, one at a time. As soon as everything's done, I will definitely contact you, let you know it is ready. All right, thank you so much. That's good. All right, welcome back. We're done with another project. Man, these turned out nice. Blue is my favorite color. One of my favorite colors. What's the other one? I don't know. I like black too. I mean, it has a similar style than what it did. We used to have the light color stitches on the welt, but what a difference the leather sole, the midsole made to just change the way it looks. Put a little bit of gold streaks in there. Those are 24 karat gold, by the way. No, they're not. I bet you some of y'all believe me. Got the heels there. Remember we made those heels? Now, on the floor shimes, I did a dovetail pattern. Same way, but I figured I'd try this one. This is a little different. Combination straight line there. I think it turned out pretty good. All right, well, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed the little car show at the beginning. I mean, my passion is cars too, you know, but I don't do that for a living, obviously. So this is my first passion, and then the cars are second passion. All right, again, thanks again. Again, thanks again. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Also give a thumbs up and make some comments, share as much as you want. We greatly appreciate it. That helps out with the channel to grow. And we'll see you guys on the next project. Take care.